The other day, my friend bought this Empire Axe 2.0. When he got it, he took it to the field. Well, he got it out the field, and when he took it out to chrono, it wasn't quite shooting right. It was extremely cold the day we played, so I'm sure that factored into it, but they ended up getting it going for him, and I told him I'd bring it home and take it apart and clean it up and get it all ready to go for him and all of that stuff. So I thought I would shoot a video on taking it down, doing the maintenance on it. So let's get into it. So here it is. So first things first, I'm going to turn it on and we're going to do a factory reset on it because I don't know the status of this thing. To get this into your programming mode, you're going to hold the trigger in and turn the power on. And then you'll see the one red light. That's your different firing mode, stuff like that. But for resetting purposes, what you're going to do is you're going to hold the power button and pull the trigger in, and you're going to hold them in until it starts to flash. Once it flashes, you just let off and it should turn off. And now this thing should be factory reset. So now we're going to take it apart. To do that, you're just going to push in on the button on the side, and then you can pull the whole bolt out. The springs in here, they only go in one way because they kind of go back and they snap into place. So if you put it in backwards, it'll slip right off. So, but you can see on here, I mean, it's pretty filthy. So we're gonna clean that up. Let's grease there. But I'm gonna go through this thing pretty thoroughly. I'm gonna pull the ball detents out. That's what keep your, so you don't shoot more than one ball at a time. I'm going to make sure they're all good. And they are underneath these eye covers here. So I'm just going to inspect them. Clean all the paint off of them. They do look like there's a little bit of paint in there. But all in all, they don't look very worn down. So I'm just going to put this side back together. These don't have to be super tight, you just don't want them to. So, flip it over, we're gonna look at the other side. You pop these out, just reach your finger in there and just kind of push them out. You still want to make sure they're not worn down. So as long as they're not worn down, they'll do what they're supposed to do. And this side looks good too. All right, then we'll take a look on the inside of the barrel. And that looks a little on the dirty side. I don't know if you can see it in there or not, but we'll just poke this through there a little bit. Give that a good clean, that looks good in there. And then everything else, we're just gonna wipe it down and inspect all the O-rings. make sure nothing looks out of place, make sure nothing's worn out. Does feel it's a little on the dry side. There was definitely some paint on it. Like I said, I think most of the problems we were having the day he got this thing is it was pretty cold, it was snowing, and these things don't really shoot so well in the snow. But you basically just want to look at your O-rings, make sure there's no nicks in them, make sure everything looks good with them. It wasn't leaking air or anything like that. It just wasn't performing. All these O-rings look to be in good shape. You don't normally have to take this apart as far as I'm about to, but I want to pull this apart inside of here and just make sure all that stuff in there looks good. Whenever you do this, this will mess with your velocity, so keep that in mind. If you go in there this deep, you'll have to get your velocity done, which most fields you have to do anyway, so. But that just pulls out. Then inside of here is a spring. And the rest of this. But that seals there. This gets a little dirty too. I mean, you'll get some leaks from there. I mean, with this being a used marker, like there's not all the O-rings and stuff in there, but there is a fair amount of O-rings and stuff in there. But I think everything looks good. So that's your basic disassembly of this thing, and then we're gonna put it back together, re-lube everything. Everything looks good, but it might have just been some lubing issues, the fact that it was cold. So when you're putting it back together, you don't need to put a whole lot of grease on all these O-rings. You just need a little bit. If you put too much grease on, it'll end up, it could mess up your marker and make it not shoot right too. So clean the inside of this out before I put it back together. You want to make sure you get the springs and everything back in where it goes. This is what does your velocity. So whenever you take it apart, if you do go in this deep, basically you can put it in all the way, and then you want to back it out about 3/4 of a turn. That should get you fairly close to the 280. I mean, like I said, you'll have to chrono it anyway, but that'll get you fairly close. You just want to make sure you get a little bit of grease on all your O-rings. when you put this back together, just want to make sure it slides nice, which it does. I'm going to grease these two O-rings right here. Once that all lubed up, I'm going to wipe this down. This doesn't really need any grease on it. Like I said, this only goes on one way. Oops, that is the wrong way, so we're going to flip it over. And then you'll hear it kind of snap in place. That holds on there, and that's it. And you know, that's this thing is completely greased and lubed. So we're gonna put it back together. And then this back here, there's like a little, it'll slip right into that spot. Snap it in place, and that is it for this. So I told him when I gave it back to him, because he was having some concerns with it ramping, I told him I'd put it into ramping mode for him and get it all set. So we're going to hold the trigger in, getting in the programming mode. That is your rate of fire, or that's your firing mode. It's pretty much this one and your next one are the only ones you're really going to have to mess with. That's your rate of fire. These other ones, I don't have them all memorized, but the only ones you really need to mess with are your firing mode and your rate of fire. So we'll get it back into. So what you'll do is you'll hold the trigger in, and then it'll pretty much flash what mode it's in. And then you have a very short window. So for this one, to get into ramping, it is 3 flashes. So you hold the trigger in, it'll flash back at you. Now we're gonna 1, 2, 3, and then that should save whenever it blinks like that. So now next time we do it, it should 1, 2, 3. And that's that. So now to get it into the proper rate of fire, default on these is 15 balls a second. So to get it to your 10.2 that you should have, it is going to be 6 flashes. So we'll go to that next one, which is this one here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that was about 13 flashes, and then it'll blink again. So for the 10.2, it is 6 trigger pulls. So we'll get back into that programming. We'll let it do its thing. Now it should save it. So now when we do it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That should put us into the ramping mode. So that should be it. So we're going to turn this off. Now we'll turn it back on. Once that'll turn my eyes off. And that's that. So we'll take this outside. We'll give it a couple quick shots, and but that's your basic maintenance to shut this thing off. And you know, that's your basic maintenance to tear this thing completely down, re-grease everything, put it all back together, and we'll take it outside, make sure it suits okay. And I don't have a chronograph, so I'm not going to really have a way of being able to tell if it's shooting at 280 feet per second. But once we get it to the field again, then you know, we'll chronograph it there. But it'll be in the ballpark. But the biggest thing is I just want to make sure it's going to shoot good for them. So we'll take it outside and see what it does. All right, so here we are outside. We're just going to take a few shots with this and see what it does. that is it. All right, so that's it. So it looks like it's working pretty good. We'll know the feet per second once we get it out to the back out to the paintball field. But for now, it looks like everything's working good. So if you found any of this information useful, be sure to give a like and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss my latest content.